and state and local government structure and operation, requires legislator to retain Department of Veterans Affairs, ensures election of sheriffs, property appraisers, supervisor of elections, tax collectors, and clerk of court in all counties, removes county charters, ability to abolish, change term, transfer duties, or eliminate election of these offices. Changes annual legislative session commencement date in even number years from March to January, removes legislators' authorization to fix another date, creates Office of Domestic Security and Counterterrorism within Department of Law Enforcement.
Yeah. So there is a theme. The theme is micromanagement by the Constitution in the state, right? So, I mean, there's a couple state level pieces and a couple local level pieces. The first thing is we have a Department of Veterans Affairs. This would make that, it would put it in the Constitution. It's not obvious why, given that nobody's trying to get rid of the Department of Veterans Affairs, but okay, I guess that's relatively uncontroversial. Let's just make it permanent, part of the state government. Then there's create a new Domestic Security and Counterterrorism Office. The main argument for this is that we all know we live in a world where security and concerns about terrorism are a lot more of an issue than they were 20 years ago. The main argument against is that dealing with terrorists is not the state's job. That's what the federal government does. We have all kinds of vast agencies for that. I'm not sure Florida's like the crack-a-lackin' anti-terrorist organization. I mean, I'm highly skeptical that the state of Florida is going to be the point people on domestic security and counterterrorism. So that's
right. And would they even be able to supersede any of the national agencies anyway? Right.
The feds would have jurisdiction always. So all they would be state helpers of the feds.
And isn't there, somebody said something maybe like about the number of departments, would they have to get rid of a department to bring this in? Can they just add a new bureaucracy like this?
There's part of the argument why we're making the change to Veterans Affairs. If arguably, yes, if we create this new thing, we have to get rid of another agency. If we move Veterans Affairs into permanent status in the Constitution, then it can't be on the chopping block. So it's protecting it from those trade-offs. But yeah, we might, if we approve this Domestic Security Counterterrorism Agency, have to eliminate something else, except that we're moving Veterans Affairs off the list, so it all kind of balances out. We don't have to cut anything in this case.
I see.
So it balances out. But then there's the
county seat elections, the supervisor of election, the sheriff.
It's quite weird.
And so basically what that's saying is that it requires, so in each county, not all of those positions are filled, right?
Right. Well, actually, even before we get to that, the third piece is, instead of letting the state legislature leaders, the speaker and the Senate president, decide when the legislature is going to meet each year, which is what they do now, this says no, from now on they always have to start on this date. So again, it's why do we care? Why not let the leadership decide that each year? But it's on the issue. It's there. There's not a lot of arguments for and against, other than everybody. It's good for lobbyists because then they would always know when the legislative session is going to start, right? So it makes their lives easier. But so the county part essentially is saying, look, we're going to put in the Constitution how each county should be structured in terms of what offices they have and whether or not they elect or appoint them. And that's going to apply uniformly to every county in Florida, and you can't change it. So if Sarasota County wanted to say, I don't know, let's say we wanted to have a different way of doing our county clerk, or we wanted to break that position into 2 other positions, or whatever we wanted to do to run the county the way we wanted to run it, not allowed anymore once this is in the Constitution. Or, up in the Panhandle, maybe they want to elect their sheriffs differently from the way we want to elect our sheriffs. It's just locking in that every county has to be structured and elected local offices very, very much the same, which again doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why? Why can't counties be different?
Right.
Who's hurt by that?
Yeah, it seems to me like a lot of this is grabbing power from the localities and putting it into
Up to the
Tallahassee,
state, yep.
which is the same thing we've done on a national level. We've taken more power away from the states and given it to Washington, D.C., and it always bothers me when power is going in that direction.
Right.
Because in my mind, if we were doing what was right, we would be moving power closer to the people, more toward the local governments, and allowing more flexibility for the local communities to kind of make those decisions. And so any of those kind of, and anytime they're bundled, right? Like you've got 3 initiatives that we talked about the bundling,
Yeah.
but it's so hard to see how this is effective legislative process.